So, I mean, I've had, honest God, the best life growing up. Like, middle class kid, youngest of four. I had everything. Incredibly, incredibly loving parents and siblings, and extended family and friends. Um, I didn't have anything traumatic happen to me growing up. Nothing like that. But what I have kind of realized is, so I'm the youngest of four, but there's between me and the eldest, there's a 14-year gap. Between me and the next one up, there's 9 years. I've realized it now. It's negatively affected me, but it's what I've had to do is I've accepted that as come from love from all of them,
Yeah.
right? And in a weird way, I actually have to forgive them for that, which sounds bizarre, but I've had to.
That's exactly right.
And because of having such an easy life growing up and not having to, not that, no, I did work hard, but I guess I was never wanting for anything, and I had so much love, but too much love is actually bad.
Yeah.
It's weird because like my dad was really like distant, and I felt like he didn't like me. And then my mum overcompensated and poured me with love, which makes me think like I could see that. I like that makes sense, because then it's the complete other end of it.
Yeah, and how I matched that up basically with that life growing up with my behavior and my conscious and matched up with my subconscious is that I always wanted to please them. I always wanted to do everything for them.
That's Brad.
Yeah. I realized that my motivations in life of why I wasn't succeeding in things was because, well, are they actually my motivations? Is it actually truly what I want for me? And bless my folks, because I don't know I'm going on this podcast, so if they listen to it, they're going to learn a lot, right?
Come out quite well.
But I love you both to bits, and they know that. What was my point here? Oh shit, I lost my train of thought now. Oh yes, match up with my subconscious. So I'd have all this behavior, like this erratic behavior, where I'd start things and never finish them, where I'd have these anger bursts out of nowhere, and I'd have resentment for my parents and for my family. And you'd be like, why do I have that? I didn't understand. Why did I have that feeling towards them? Where is that coming from? And it was delving in with this therapy, which was to understand things coming, basically pulling things out of my subconscious. That's a lot of what therapy is about. And then when you come to a realization of something, then you say, well, does that match up with your behavior or with your train of thought in your conscience, in your conscious mind? So that's been a big learning part. Now that's one thing.
Fucking hell, it's ringing bells for me.
Me too. All over that. All over it.
And big thing was how I interpreted things was completely flawed. So at Christmas, I was dreading going home at Christmas. I was expecting each member of my family to like give me an interrogation at a different time. What are you doing with your life? Where are you going? Blah, blah, blah. And so any time I could get out of the house over Christmas, I went. Went to a mate's house, went to the pub, went to wherever, walk. Just didn't want to have conversations with anyone, like serious conversations. And then about a couple of weeks after Christmas, and then having a chat with my sister. My sister lives over here. We're very, very close. And
carry on.
Yeah.
Oh, see that's no surprise. I've been talking fucking for an hour already. But she said to me, "It's like, you came home really angry. You were just had your back
because you expected.
Yeah, you had your back up the whole time you were there. You were just combative. You just didn't, And I was like, that's not how I interpret it. I just look and interpret like none of you were talking to me. And she was like,
the same thing.
Yeah. Because, well, why we couldn't talk to you because you were so on air. You were so like, obviously ready for a fight any moment. We're like, all right. So it was learning that, which was, I interpreted it completely wrong. That it was me and how I was going into that. And I remember leading up to it because I was talking, can't remember who I was talking to about it leading up to Christmas. I'm like, really not looking forward to it. I know I'm going to have all these serious conversations.
You worked yourself up.
Exactly.
Painting the picture.
So the idea of narratives. So you created a narrative of they were going to be a nightmare. It was going to be a right fucking nightmare. I do this every Christmas. And, you know, everyone's going to be on me and everyone's going to judge me and they're going to want to know what's going on. And actually, they probably just want to love you. And
that's all, man. That's all they want. And bless them, I know they all feel completely helpless with me right now. They don't know what to do or what to say. And I don't know either. But it's those little learnings, I guess, that I'm taking. And it's, you know, I try and remember them. Like I was saying, I brought one time in the therapy, I brought a notebook with me because like I need to write some of this shit down because a lot of times when I'd leave my session, I wouldn't remember a lot of it.
But the important stuff,
it sticks.
It does.
And I was saying to my guy, I was like, you know, it really annoys me because I don't feel like I retain enough information, like not just in the sessions, but in general, like just learning has always been an issue for me. Blah blah blah. And he goes, well, yeah, but like we always retain like a tiny percentage of the information we absorb. He says, so like he said, the most important stuff you'll remember. He goes, but if you take one little snippet each time. So I think with me in a therapy, it's like a little realization maybe every week, maybe.
Yeah, you don't need to try so hard. Like it sounds like you're trying so hard.
Sometimes you just want an answer, don't you? You just want to walk in and go, right, this, that, and that, and they go, right, do this, do that, and everything else. But it is those subtle changes, and like it's odd when you're in it, but when you look back, you think, oh, I wasn't ready for that information yet. Yeah, it's sort of it comes when it comes, kind of thing, and it's such a hard thing to get your head round.
True.
But it's just like, and I'd love the power to be open to that awareness, but you just can't. No. When you're in that moment of like, oh, I feel like this, and this is fucked, and that person said that, and you're like, oh, I want answers to all of this stuff. And then you get like a little bit of it, and you're like, oh, well, that kind of makes sense. I'll kind of take that. But when you look back over the last 6 months, you're like, fuck. Yeah, of course. I was not ready for that.
I have to say that's one of my favourite things about therapy. Like, just through having so much experience of it, is that I just go in like totally open and I don't expect anything, and I just assume the best things will resonate, you know, and I think they do. I really do think they do, and you know, like I used to get this with my group therapy. It's like, I'm working so fucking hard, and I'd go in there and I'd almost go in there with a plan of what I was going to fucking talk about that day. Yeah. I'm like, I'm taking this fucking seriously. Why is everyone else not taking it as seriously as me? Truth is, everyone else is probably worse. You know, they're going through it harder. But I'm being like, no, but I'm fucking working on it, and I'm trying hard. And now I've realised that that's bullshit. You know, what clicks for a reason, and sometimes it takes. You know, you just need to go through the journey. Sometimes, like, it's funny, the other day at work, I was getting really bothered about things, and my manager was like, why didn't you tell me 3 weeks ago? I could see you, like, isolating yourself, etc. And I was like, because I didn't know. I didn't know I was isolating myself. I didn't know I was starting to be a bit of a mess. You know, like, it takes a little while for you to realise and for you to learn. And I just think with therapy, you just kind of have to let it happen. Because when you're trying too hard, it's actually it's counterproductive.
You could be trying in the wrong direction.
Yeah, because you're trying too hard, you're not learning the lessons.
Yeah, and that's what I've had to try and adjust to, is that I went in for the first 6 weeks. I was just going hard.
You know, I'm so desperate to be better.
And then like last week, I went in and I was just like, man, I'm so angry at this. Like, we're not getting anywhere quick enough. And you know, I am. Well, I am. But it's like it's in what's in front of me. I'm not seeing the results. But I gotta.
That's ego, though. That's ego.
Yeah.
Your ego's going, why am I not better? I need to be getting on with things. Thank you, mate. Like, why am I not better? What's going on? Like, I need answers. And that is just ego.
Yeah.
And it's total Freud, isn't it?
But question for you is both. So, one of the things that I'm fearful of, but second I want to do is, and I kind of think like almost I want to be reborn, and what I mean by that is that I want to become the person that I actually am, not what I've become, and find out where I really want to go, what I want my path to be in life. I think we're all seeking for that, and there is actually a bit of ego in that as well.
Yeah, but it's okay to have ego.
There's comfort in the thought of like almost finding out exactly where you're meant to be, because then you haven't got to worry about all the other. There's no uncertainty. There's comfort in the knowing kind of thing.
Yeah,
I totally get that.
But so before you came round, me and Brad were talking about, like, I've been going through this period where I'm desperate. I want to make the podcast work. You know, I want to make the podcast bigger, and I want to be an artist, and I don't want to do my job, and I want to be creative full time.
Yeah.
And then, like, Brad was like, "You're trying too hard. Like, you need to accept the situation and enjoy the good bits."
And it's funny you say that, because, you know, I'm fortunate enough that I know a lot of people in music, and I've been hunting people down, but like, let's meet for coffee, let's meet for beer. I want to work for your company, or we should do something together. And the thing is, people smell that fucking hunter mentality from you a mile away.
Yeah, but at the time, you kind of think people want to see that enthusiasm and stuff as well.
The problem is that, and Brad really fucking nailed this for me, is that I am exactly the same. Like, I get like that, and I'm like, and then when good things happen, I feel mentally better.
Yeah.
So I'm like, right, I need to make sure that keeps happening. And this is where Brad was like, you know, why are you doing that? Because, you know, if something's going to happen, it's going to happen. Like, and then the minute I sat back, like, what, this last week?
5-10 things.
Yeah, like last weekend, when I got ill last weekend, I thought, I got ill because I've been overdoing it, trying to hustle, trying to make shit happen. And the minute I sat back this week, we've had like 10 amazing things happen. Art, podcast, and the minute I just let it happen, it's like, yeah, put in the work, but don't fucking kill yourself doing it.
It's just those subtle little, like you said, if you sent a couple of emails, then send them and then leave them, forget about them.
Leave them, forget about them.
The second you start thinking, like, have they arrived? What will they think? What are they doing? The universe, in my opinion, is then going, oh, what does he actually want? He's saying, right, he sent this email, but now he's worried about someone seeing it. And then this, and like, it's just so confused. Just like, send the thing, do the thing. And then I'm not saying I'm good at this. This is something that I try and harness.
There, and it is just sitting back and letting it happen a bit.
Yeah,
you know, like you. Yeah.
And what's nice is it's
do the work
when it does happen. All of a sudden, it's like a surprise, because you will be relaxing in a relaxed state watching Always Sunny in Philadelphia, as I've been trying to watch loads of lately, because it's funny as fuck. It's so good. And then all of a sudden, your phone goes and you're like, oh, what's that? And it's like, oh my god, I forgot I'd even sent that thing. Like, this thing's just come out of nowhere, and it just feels amazing, because you're not sat there going, oh, what about this, what about that, have they got it, blah blah blah. It's like,
because you're going in all these other ways.
Yeah, it could go a million ways. It's not denying,
you're trying to make shit happen.
It's not denying that it won't go bad, or it won't go wrong, or it won't happen, or it will happen. Like, it's still have those thoughts, but just let them kind of go, and it's easier in a relaxed state, and the more you do it, the easier it gets.
It's funny, yeah. So essentially, what you were saying there is very much what I've been going through at the moment, desperately trying to make things happen. And I've just come to the conclusion that, you put the work in, make the effort, but like, don't fucking kill yourself doing it. Because I just don't think, I think when you're putting it in too much, like, it just doesn't happen.
I think there's a difference between killing yourself and working too hard, bizarrely. And I think we can work too hard in wrong ways.
Yeah.
And what we think we're putting in a lot of effort into something, we're not doing it in the right manner.
There's a quote there. I think it's like, don't work so hard on a decision just because you've made it or something. I'll have to look it up, but
I think the important thing is if you're having issues with mental health, you need to put the work in on you.
Yeah.
And if other things come along as a result, if you're feeling well, then generally things start to happen.
start to see beauty in the world.
Yeah. And then because you've got that outlook, then I think, I hate fucking saying
Like attracts like.
but you know, like you put it out to the universe and the universe gives you back.
Mate, you can't argue with it.
Yeah, no.
I hate fucking saying it.
Start
But,
liking it.
I'm really
can't argue
learning
with
it. I'm really learning that at the moment. So I think it's really important to work on yourself. So I see my mental health and I accept it as an issue that I've got for life. I accept it as what it is. Today I accept it. I don't accept it every day, but more and more I accept it as per usual.
That's as important as accepting a day where you're like, fuck everything. I'm not going to go to work. I'm just going to like just do my own thing, whatever. And I'm not saying like bunk off work, but like just giving into it sometimes because there's comfort in there as well. Because
it's okay to do that once in a while.
Because then you get the balance of it might only get to like 10, 11 o'clock in the day, and you're like, fucking hell, that was a bit of a wobble. I am going to go for a walk, or I better have a healthy lunch, or whatever, and sort myself out and make a couple of phone calls, and then you get back on track. Or if you don't, you don't. It's just like that forgiveness and allowing yourself to feel how you feel. It's really important.
But I think the thing is about like you kind of get into this idea that you've really desperately, you know, like desperately want to make something happen all the time, and like I think that's okay, and I think like there's no progress if you don't have that. But it's like if you put it out there, if it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen.
Yeah, I think the difference is if you've done it. Like, I think a lot of the problem with like social media is people see so many people doing so many things, so they feel like they have to do so many things, and they think, oh, I'd love to have a business, or I'd love to write this song, or whatever. But if you've done it, like if you've made the phone calls to the bank about the loan to get the thing that you're doing, or if you've actually got a pen and pencil out, and you've started writing words down, then you can forgive, like you've had a go. Like you've put it out there, you've started the process.
Yeah.
It's when you kind of like wallow in it so much.
It might take a while.
Yeah, of course it will. But you can allow yourself when that first 20 seconds of like, fuck it, I'm gonna do it in this direction. It will find its own momentum.
Yeah.
And I think that's important.
But I think like for you, Owen, because like you're still going through your journey. And I think it's really important just to go easy on yourself. So, like, if you make an effort with something, you've made an effort with it. And then you just go, well, I've made an effort, now I can have some time to myself. And then that's it for a bit. Like, because if you can't get too locked up in things. Because it's really easy to get fucking really locked up in something, and then it all becomes about that. And then you forget about the important bit about being well.
Yeah, I mean it's something I've had to accept literally in the last kind of week, which is it's not gonna happen quick. It's not gonna happen overnight. It's gonna be little small bits, provided I continue to work at it, which I will. And I don't know at the level how much I'll come out of where I'm at now. That's, you know, but I've kind of said, right, 12 months, you know, and I'll figure the rest out. And, you know, right now, because I used to work in marketing companies for 6 years, and
it was a big part of your identity, I guess.
It was a massive part of my identity, and it was something that I thought I was pretty good at, and I was good at it, like, but now I've kind of realized, well, you know, maybe that's just not for me anymore. But it's like you said, it's the identity part. That's all I know of who I am in the work side of Owen. I don't know the other side, and I don't know what that's going to evolve into yet. And that's, I think, a hard part of dealing with, because, you know, going from, you know, I was earning good money, and I didn't have to worry month to month. And now that's totally different. Now I'm getting by month to month, and it's a totally different mentality. But I could take that like a negative. So one thing I've learned is that we can in a weird way decide how we want to feel about something.
You can make a heaven of hell or a hell of heaven.
Yes. Yeah. So I don't succeed every day in doing this, but most days lately, I'm using where I'm at right now as a positive. It's like, right, I've not got a job where I'm earning a lot of money. I'm scraping by. I really enjoy it. I enjoy the social part of the bar. The company I work for are really good. People I work with, fantastic. But it's not what I want to do long term. But I guess it's the learning part of that. Accepting is going to be a slow bit by bit. And, I was thinking about in the last kind of couple of days, like, if you was asking, what would be your day to day, or what advice would you give, for helping people? And I guess I'd think of it two ways. One is the strategy side, which is basically kind of like, what are your goals? What would you like to achieve? And it doesn't have to be, I want my mental health to get better. It can be something of, I don't want to be thinking about suicidal thoughts as much, or I'd like to control my anxiety better, right? And then you kind of have to start thinking about the day-to-day part of that. Like, well, what can I do then to make that a little bit easier? I mean, and the simple things which we all know about, which most of us don't do, is exercise. In an ideal world, we would all exercise daily.
One. Yeah,
there's a guy, an Irish musician called Brezzy. He's a professional musician, and he used to be a professional rugby player for Leinster. And he's had serious mental health issues. And he has a really good podcast actually on mental health. He's written a couple of books, but he said his saving grace was exercise. That was his thing for him, just to get him to get by. Now, I'm not saying exercise is for everyone. It's the obvious one, because
They do say, can I? So there was a thing on Facebook, and I looked at a few bits with Jim Carrey when he said, I believe that depression exists, but if you exercise, you eat well, you look after yourself, you look after your mind, and and if you've still got depression, you've got a problem. And I do think that's true. I do think all of those things are totally.
It can only help, can't it? Really?
Like, I mean, exercise is like it releases serotonin in your brain, and it makes you feel better.
It's the one thing I haven't done this time round, and I have felt a massive difference.
I still don't
Huge
do
difference.
I think the thing is, though, is because so before I was in hospital, and the previous 2 years to that, I started exercising for the first time since probably school, because I'd put on a lot of weight, and in that kind of year, I'd lost 3 stone. I'd mentally felt stronger than I ever had before. I was physically the fittest I'd been since I was probably a teenager, and I was getting a lot more attention from girls. Work was just, everything seemed to be going
makes
right.
it so much harder, though, doesn't it? Because you've done all the right things.
Yeah, so there's that. But what really annoys me now is that since that happened, I haven't really trained. And then people say, why don't you go back into exercise again? And I go, if it were that easy, I would do it.
Yeah.
Whatever mental block I have right now, whatever it might be, because like I still wake up every day and I feel like I'm 60. My shoulders, my back, my hips, they're killing me.
Yeah.
Because I know my mental health massively affects me physically. That's my element.
It does.
It's it is what it is.
It does me, though. It does me. Like,
Yeah.
I feel tired all the time. Like, when I'm not mentally well, I feel exhausted.
I think for me,
All
I've
day
just
long.
I got to the point where I was running to try and lose weight and try and look a certain way. And then I kind of got to the point where I was like, I've been through what I've been through, and I've kind of reprioritized it a little bit, and I gave a fuck a lot less about what I looked like, and I was more working on how I felt and how I was speaking to people.
That's
And
the
like
right
just
way to do it.
yeah, I guess so. But it's difficult because I find myself beating myself up about the fact that I haven't been exercising, and it can kind of work the other way as well.
And but like that's part of we're talking about like the kind of like the big things about feeling better and big things about not beating yourself up. Like, and that is ego. But like if you stop beating yourself up, like all right, I've put on weight, I'm not well.
See, for me, it's a fine line between not beating myself up and not giving myself a bit of a kick. Being like, come on.
Yeah, no, that's right.
And
that's true. That's true.
Yeah, it's so easy to fall into the, oh no, I'll leave it for today, I'll leave it for this week, I'll leave it this month.
And that's kind of the part that I battle with, because I really do want to get back into exercise. And I'm sure I will. Because I basically used to go to the gym. That was my thing. And when I was earning good money, I had a personal trainer. And you know, that was great. Well, I will say actually, for people who don't have money but can't afford a gym, barter the fuck out of everything. So when I did run out of money, I bartered with my personal trainer and I gave him social media consultancy in exchange for sessions. So just because you don't think, well, I can't afford that, or that intervenes with my schedule or whatever, find a bloody way.
I was going to say that about the therapy as well.
I was going to say commercial social media consultants.
I was given a card. My therapist gave me a card, and there's a couple of companies and some charities that take on the trainee counsellors and therapists, and it's like a nominal fee, like you said, or I think like £10 or £5 or whatever. And basically, you're going there and having counselling, but it's kind of fresh out the bag because they haven't been doing it for too long.
Well, that's what I have.
Oh, right, yeah.
So that's with the charity I have. I've basically got they're just under kind of therapists. Yeah. You know, the fresh out the bag ones.
But that's fine.
Yeah.
That's absolutely fine, because a good therapist, regardless of whether they've been doing it a week or 10 years, essentially they should be listening, providing a safe place for you. And
the skills are pretty basic, really.
Yeah, as long as they're not like diverting you too much or anything else. And essentially it's a relationship. So you might go in the room with a therapist that's been doing it for 60 years, not get on with them at all. Yeah. And then it's different every time.
And it can be so off-putting. Like the guy I went to last year, I think we did 6 sessions.
Yeah, you said you
man, I really just did not like him. He just was. There was a couple of things. One, I felt he was more interested for his own intrigue about what was going on with me. Every fucking session he'd ask me about what girl I'm with a girl this week or my sex life.
What the hell?
Yeah, really, really strange. And
it's not that weird. It's a Freud thing.
Really?
I don't know. I think the biggest feeling for me is I felt he was asking questions more for his own personal interest than for my.
I suppose it's when it's at the point, it's like, have you got any photos and like, what's her name so I can look her up on Facebook? It's like,
it's going that way.
But it's a perfect case of we just didn't click. And then it was 6 months until obviously someone recommended me to place him at now, and that just seems to fit really, really well. So yeah, like you're not always, because I've had therapy different times over the years, and you don't always get someone you click with. And it's really important, because if you don't click with them, you're not gonna fully give yourself into it. And yeah, it's like dating, basically.
So many people are really put off. Like they'll think, well, I'm finally at the point where I'm gonna have therapy and I'm gonna commit to it, and then they have it and they have that experience and they're like, that's it then. So that's
it's such a shame.
It's not.
They don't necessarily understand.
It all depends. There's too much. Many variables.
Yeah, but do they understand necessarily what they're getting themselves involved in?
No.
Like before I went with these guys and I read out their type of therapy, and it's Jungian therapy, so it's quite deep analysis, kind of matching the subconscious up with the conscious. And I've not had, like my therapist never gives me his opinion. He never gives me advice. Nothing like that. And like we might sit there for like 10 minutes and not speak.
That's really important.
Yeah. And it's the first time I've ever had that, where it took me a while to like not feel awkward with the silences, and then kind of realize that he knows himself. He doesn't always have to push me on something.
Well, that's closing down the ego. So naturally, if we all sat quietly now, one of us, well, not us, but like in a room,
I'd start talking.
someone would have to feel the silence because of that awkwardness.
Yeah,
That's the ego going, feel the silence because they're going to think you're weird because you're not talking and everything else. Whereas really, we should be able to just sit here perfectly quietly and just not talk not now because it's a really shit podcast, but like if we were just in a pub or something like that, we shouldn't have to feel like we have to keep filling the voids and keep filling the gap. Because what fills the gap is that ego bit. And if your man's like not doing that, that's purposefully breaking down the ego. And then you'll sit there and process what is going to bring value to what you're saying.
Yeah. Like, and
It's really clever.
Like I went in today and we didn't speak for the first 5 minutes because I was racking my brain about what's on my brain today, what do I want to talk about, and then eventually something came in, and then it just kind of starts and just kind of evolves out of that. And you can't. The other thing is, like, I think people go to therapy just looking for the answers. They're looking for quick results,
Quick fix,
and it just doesn't exist.
No.
Okay.
I think with mental health, there's two things. There's the therapy side, and then there's the things in your day-to-day life that you can do to make it a little bit easier.
That's a really good shout, like your daily habits. That's huge.
You kind of need to deal with both, don't you? So you kind of talk about the day-to-day stuff, and like you're kind of looking for some direction. But then there's the monster in the room that you also need to deal with.
But we all know what the good habits we need to instill.
Yeah.
But if you're someone like me, who I'm like, I gotta do all these fucking 10 things, and I gotta do them in this space of time, and I'm like, well, of course I'm not gonna do it. How could I do it? Where now I try and say, right, I'm just gonna do 1% more today than I did yesterday.
Nice.
And that's kind of the only way I go by, and I'm slowly also starting just to not give a fuck.
That's really
what
important.
anyone thinks.
That's really
or if they
important.
ask me a question and not feel like I have to justify myself. That's the most frustrating thing, is like whenever someone asks, and they ask it a well-meaning, like you never have someone maliciously ask you about your mental health, and if you do, they deserve to get kicked in the head. Right?
Which also feels good sometimes.
Yeah. I haven't done that. Or have I? No, I haven't. They don't mean it maliciousness, but like, I've always felt like I have to justify myself constantly to everyone. And I always have to have an answer or some kind. And what actually then happens is you start believing in your own shit coming out of your own mouth. And then the truth is, well, is that actually the truth? Is that actually how I feel about that? And you don't know, because you're giving answers to try and keep people happy about what you think they want to hear. And then you start believing that, and then you don't actually have the results at the back and behind it.
It becomes your script.
There's that element of like you want to be the entertainer.
Yeah.
And some of us are like that. I mean, I am. Whereas, you want to entertain people. If someone asks you what's going on, you want to tell them a story. You want to entertain them. And then you just start, after a while, you just think, I don't fucking care. That's me.
It's quite freeing, though. It is freeing to shake all of that off. I think it's part of, like we were saying earlier about identity, like it's part of shedding away those layers of like, I have to be seen to be working in an office. I have to be seen to be earning this much money. I have to be seen to be involved with, this music thing or this podcast thing or this and everything else. And it's something I was doing all of the time. And then when you actually shed away those layers and get to the point when you're trying to work out who you actually are, which I genuinely believe us three are kind of at quite a similar stage at the moment, it's quite nice to just be able to go on, you talk. I'm not really, whatever.
And that's what everyone wants anyway.
Yeah.
That's what everyone wants anyway.
Yeah.
Really, underneath it all, everyone just wants you to go, tell me about you.
Yeah.
Essentially, that's what we all want.
Yeah.
Because we're all like egotistical.
Yeah.
And we all want to be able to talk about us. like underneath it, initially they might be like, "Oh, I feel nervous because
Yeah, of course.
you will compare me."
In that fight or flight, we'll have our things that we sort of come up with straight away. Like, hello, I'm Brad, I'm this, I have
Yeah,
this
but
family and
it's all
everything else.
bollocks.
But
All of it is bollocks.
what's nice is when that breaks down and then you get to the point when you start talking about music and like weather and like current, like what's going on in the room.
What I
and
found
stuff like
about
that.
music is the best thing about music is that you if people like music, they tend to infuse about music.
Yeah.
And then you tend to have a very different conversation. Like you have a much more honest conversation.
Yeah. It's the
Like,
same with
that's the
sports
beauty
and
about
football as
music
well.
and art.
Yeah.
Generally, is if someone like it's different when you meet someone and they go, "Oh, I just like whatever's in the charts."
Yeah.
You know, that's not really going to work.
Yeah, but if you get
if
talking
they
to
go,
them,
"I
there will
really
be.
like this,"
Yeah, exactly. There'll always be something.
and then you're like, "Oh, you care about stuff," and everyone cares about stuff.
Yeah.
It's not really that hard. None of this shit's that real. That's the thing, like that I always find about kind of the brain and mental health is that actually it's all kind of there.
Yeah.
It's all
It's
there.
like people say, "Oh, the answers are inside you," and you think, "Oh, fucking hell, no! I just want an answer from you." But essentially, when you look back, they are. You have come up with the answers yourself, and you're like, "Oh, fucking hell! Like, why didn't I work out when I was 13?"
always come back to is that, and I come back to this all the time, is that a lot of people are looking for someone to solve the problem. You know, like you go to your therapy, you have therapy. You know, like you were saying before, like you see a therapist and you want them to solve the problem for you.
Yeah.
And they can't solve the problem for you. Only you can solve the problem. And we're always looking for something external to make it better, be it money, be it work. You know, something in our lives that elevates us and makes us feel good about ourselves. It's like kind of, I think that's pretty much it. Something that makes us feel good about ourselves, and that's where we're fucking wrong. That's the fool's game.
Yeah.
Is that money doesn't make you feel better about yourself, and other people generally don't make you feel better. You know, you're looking for love because you want to feel better about yourself. You want to feel like you matter. But we're looking outside of ourselves all the time, and we're wrong. And our society tells us to do that, but the feeling better about yourself is in here.
And I think we're in such a dangerous time right now when you've got all these business leaders, athletes, idiot celebrities like the Kardashians, who are only famous for being famous. And so many people want to be them.
Yeah.
They want to be the Bill Gates of the world. They want to be the Obamas. They want to be the Kardashians. And because there's something to aspire to when you're actually trying to live someone else's dream.
I think you're completely right. I think that that since caveman times, like we've always felt that way.
Yeah,
I think,
maybe.
like, you know, like Brad said ages ago, he's got a nicer loincloth than me. And the idea that like people often they moan about the media and social media, but I think we're talking about fundamental truths. You know, the idea that you know, oh, the Kardashians doing it, I want their life. Like, that's no different from any time in history. It's always the idea that what they've got, if they've got that, then I'll feel fulfilled.
Exactly.
So you're looking for fulfillment from something external.
I wonder if like the 60s, like 50s and 60s for TV when television was first around.
It just
And then,
heightens
like, people
it,
who may have like
it
sung a bit
heightens
in
the
their
want,
front
it
room.
heightens the need.
Yeah.
And it just makes it more intense.
Like people singing in the garden and stuff like that, and then all of a sudden they're seeing people singing on TV and they've got
Yeah.
a nice suit on. They think, fucking hell, I want to go and do that. And then it's, you know.
But it's like, but you only see the glamour. We only see the glamour. Like, you know, I guarantee if we asked anyone, if they go, oh, like someone asked me, oh, Conor McGregor goes, and if I go, I want to be him, right? And then you go, well, why do you want to be him? And if I go, oh, because he's got all the money, and he's got this.
Rich.
He goes, But why do you want that? What's going to fulfill you in that? And I always kind of, in my 20s and all, and studying marketing and then getting into that world, I was like, right, I'm going to be a leader of industry. I want to be the best of the best. I want to be in those 30 under 30 lists and blah, blah, blah. And I still do to this day, and this is a bit of my ego thing, I'm honestly believe I'm on this planet to do something special. Mm-hmm. Don't know what it is yet. I might never find it. But I always used to think it was something around business or music or entertainment. Where in actual fact, it might be that I just might be a great husband or a great dad. Or
that's really cool.
Or a great butcher.
No, that's right. It's completely
you
right.
know, and that's maybe what my journey will be. And that's the exciting part of what I'm going on right now.
It can be a tough pill to swallow, but again, the excitement of not knowing is amazing.
And I tell you what, I'm exactly the same.
Yeah.
I'm exactly the same. I know you are.
Yeah.
Like, exactly the same. You know, like, the reason why, like, I really want to go to the podcast, it's like, because you think, you've got something to say. Mm. And, like, you might have something to say, but if you've got something to say, then people will listen. Mm. But it still comes back to this idea of, like, you want fulfillment and you're looking for fulfillment elsewhere.
Yeah, externally.
But you don't know what your fulfillment is until you feel it, until you do it.
Yeah, but I really stand by that. Fulfillment is not over there, it's here.
Yeah.
Like, and I think what we do, and we all do it, and it's heightened now, but I think it still probably goes back to caveman times, that fulfillment is, if you allow yourself to feel it, you'll feel it.
Mm. I just want to be content.
Yeah.
That's all I want.
That's what I mean. Like, you think, I want to, like, you know, like, for years I wanted to be a rock star. And, like, it's funny, I was talking to someone at work today whose husband is a drummer and is a bit of a rock star. And I was like, fuck, I'd have to be a rock star. I was like, yeah, I'm doing festivals, doing the podcast. I was like, I never would have believed it. But then I'm like, no, why wouldn't I believe it? Yeah. So suddenly you're I allow myself to be who I am, and that works.
Yeah. It just comes and.
So I don't need, I stop trying.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest with myself, and that works.
And I think the thing as well is, you know, if you're gonna give you an example, is when Megan was supporting Tom Jones during the summer, and I went along with her, and you know, it was really exciting, and there were big outdoor gigs, and I think it was 15,000 people each gig, and you know, you get that buzz, and then I get that buzz, and I'm not even on stage with her, you know, I'm just kind of part of the crew. And she has that 15, 30 minutes on stage, and you have that post-gig high, and it's like, fuck. But then you drop so quick and so hard.
I've experienced it.
And then, like, you've got all the travel to get there. You've generally not got a nice dressing room.
Was it worth the effort?
I mean, you know, for the experience, because it was the biggest gigs that she'd done, it was biggest gigs that I was a part of, 100%, you know, but... I mean, Jesus Christ, we were knackered. We were so exhausted after it.
It's hard.
I wasn't on stage. She was performing. If I was knackered, how the hell did she feel?
Yeah. But I tell you what, like, that kind of comes back to the thing, like, me and Brad often come back to, is that what happens is we get so fucking boiled up with everything else. You're like, the travel. Did you have a good experience? If you had a good experience, then that's pretty much what life is about.
Yeah.
There's not a lot in between that.
But sometimes it can feel like you're stuck in the blah, 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 and not enough of like the heightened kind of experience things.
And then you're chasing the next thing.
But
and then before you finish that wonderful experience, you're chasing the next fucking thing because you're like, I've got to have another good experience.
Well, you want that high. You want that endorphin release.
Yeah.
But there's a way. If you, and I'm not saying this because I've achieved it, but like Russell Brand touched on it a couple of times this week. Like, if you can start to see that kind of positive kind of hype everywhere, then you'll get that feeling not just on stage, but the fact that you're going, like it'll start to, it's getting that balance kind of thing. Not that
You'll
there is
get
any
it out
balance.
of the smallest of them. You'll get it out
Yeah.
of looking out the window and the sunset.
Yeah, because you'll think, fucking hell, I've actually woken up today and I'm allowed to go and do this thing. I can still go and do this thing, or I've got the opportunity to go and do this thing.
So
or...
that comes back to the thing that Peter, my therapist, really, really talked about, was just being present. If you can be present and rather just in the moment, rather than taking your baggage from your past, your anxiety for the future, and you just enjoy what's in your hands at any one time. And I just think like that's kind of the key to life.
That's worth more to me.
Really
than money
hard.
is.
And that's not what I've been doing for a
Yeah.
very, very long time. The last time I can remember being in the moment, and it actually only came up in therapy the other week, was I went to Asia like 2 years ago.
I thought you were going to say 2 weeks ago. I was about to kick you out just in case you had to cry.
Yeah. No.
very tough.
Not yet. I'd love to go back though. But we went to Cambodia, part of tours in Cambodia, and we went to the temples. But we went to the sunrise at the temple. So you go and it's pitch black dark. And we're all standing around the lake. And when we got there, there's maybe about 50 people. And then as it got closer, there was a couple of hundred people there. But there was this kid, and I really remember this so vividly. There was this kid in a pitch black dark screaming, "Coffee, coffee!" Like, and come to you, like, "Do you want a coffee?" I'm like, "Yeah." Give him a couple of quid. 10 minutes later, somehow this kid would find you with your coffee, right? And I remember as well, like, the birds were getting louder as the sun was kind of about to rise. The sun was going to rise over the back of the temple, and there's a lake in front of me.
Beautiful.
And just that feeling, just being there and just experiencing this thing of like, the sun was rising, it was getting a bit warmer. Everyone was getting a little bit louder because the lights were coming up.
Yeah, I had a similar experience.
And it was just so peaceful and serene, and I so visually remember it. And it was probably the last time where I felt, and I can't think of another time where I was in the moment. Actually, no, I can. The only other times I know for certain in the moment was actually at U2 gigs, where it's the only time.
Is that because you're Irish?
Mate, everyone tells me this. Everyone asks me this, right? There's been no band or act I've ever seen where it's like a spiritual experience, apart from U2. I'm sure the Irishness, I've got a bit more affinity to them than I would.
Still got a lot of good tunes, haven't they?
They do. But I've gone to every U2 gig since I was 10 with my sister. So every tour we've gone together.
That's nice.
And
Yeah, it's nice.
every time I remember a very specific moment at each gig. And like that to me is fucking priceless. That's why I'd say music is my drug, because
I get that. Like I get that at Morrissey gigs. Like I was talking about going to see Morrissey, and my mate Stu was going. No, it wasn't just him. It was like a few people were going, like, he's a fucking like BNP cunt. I was like, yeah, he is, but he'll play every day's like Sunday, and I'll get goosebumps, and I'll have an experience with like 5,000 other people, and it will be an experience, and I'll feel alive, and and it's amazing, and I just think that's what it's all about.
Man, like for me, I remember very specific times in my life because it was with music.
Yeah, I'm exactly the same.
I remember when I was 3, we were getting a ferry to France, driving down the motorway, listening to the Beatles' White Album. It was back in the USSR, and then all the suitcases.
Such a good song.
Yeah, and all the suitcases fell off the roof of the car on the motorway. And we had to pull in and blah, blah, blah. And then, try and get the suitcases off the motorway. Well, obviously I didn't. I was only 3. I remember then a couple of years later, summertime, cleaning my parents' garden, and we're listening to the Doors. I remember Saturday nights before my sister and brother go out, and we'd be listening to The Prodigy. And I'd be sitting in their bedroom while they're getting ready to go out, and very specific things, and very visual memories for me. And that's what I love so much about music. It's it's such a great form of therapy.
Really visual, isn't it? It really is.
I
I
think
think
it
it's
links the memories to something, and then
No,
sometimes you
exactly the
forget.
same.
And I love it when a song comes in and in a shot, and you're like, oh fucking hell, and the memory kind of just hits you straight back in the face out of nowhere. That's so cool.
But I think sound and hearing is the most underrated sense we have. I really do. It's like if someone says to me you can go either deaf or blind tomorrow, I'd go blind.
I just think it's about, you know, like I think before we started about the idea of, you know, like a singer will tell, like some singers tell a story, but a song doesn't necessarily have to tell a story. It tells a story anyway because you heard it then, and you can remember like your teenage years, and you can remember your experiences. Like I just listen. Like now, I only really don't listen to new music really. I just listen to stuff I listened to as a teenager, pretty much all the time. I might listen to their new albums, just because it gives me that feeling of being like wild and free. And what's kind of cool is that now I listen to it. When I was a teenager, I was clinically depressed. So now when I listen to it now, I listen to it with new ears. Don't listen to it as a depressed kid. It's almost like it's brand new.
I like it when there's songs on the album that you like might have skipped when you were a kid.
Yeah.
And then you listen past like the first 4 bars, and you're like, fucking hell, this is a tune. Like, why didn't I give this any weight when I was younger? I love that.
Right. I think that might be it.
This is a 2-hour podcast already.
So we got 2 hours.
Yeah, mate.
Sorry, lads.
Don't be sorry.
You might need to do a bit of editing.
Yeah, well, it's 2 on mine, and I started it a little bit early, so we're probably about 10
I was
minutes.
feeling hungry.
Hungry?
Yeah. I don't fucking eat enough.
But you had like a massive like korma thing like about
It was
2
that
hours
fucking
ago.
big. And that's all I've had all day.
Yeah.
I don't eat.
No.
I think I harm myself through not eating. That's what we didn't talk about, the harm thing.
Yeah.
Fucking bollocks! That was my fucking first thing.
Well,
We can do it another time.
Right, we'll have to do it another time.
Do it in 6 months and then we'll have an update on where I'm at then.
well up for that.
Do you know what though, Owen? Everything you said tonight sounds like you're well on the way. It really does. And I really won't fucking bullshit you. I really won't. But like a lot of the things that you've said that you've learnt are the things that make me better. And they genuinely are. And I've been ill most of my life. And so it's taken me a long time to get to the point where I am. And I feel like from the things you've said is that you've kind of got to that point much quicker than me. And like those principles that you've said, I really do think are the answer.
I hope so.
I genuinely mean that though. I really do think.
Yeah. I mean, I think we're fortunate in this day and age that we've got so much information out there and so many resources to help people with mental health that it wasn't around 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago.
And people aren't so fucking judgmental. I mean, there is a lot of it, but it is a bit freer.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's kind of last thing I'll say. Like, I was having a chat with a mate of mine a little while ago on the phone, and then and he said to me, he goes, "Oh yeah, I've quit drinking," and I was like, "Oh right, oh cool, man." It's like, what is it? Health reasons, physical, want to get better, all that. And he goes, "Oh no, man." I was like, "I'm an alcoholic." I'm like, "Well, why didn't we chat about this sooner? Like, you've been thinking of this for the last couple of years." And he goes, we couldn't. And then we had this conversation about how we're now in a world where grown men can actually talk about their feelings and be vulnerable and say, "Yeah, I've got this problem." He goes, "Oh yeah." And I was like, "So do I." And we've connected.
He probably wouldn't have said it though. Like, did he know about you?
Well, that's what I told him.
Yeah, there you go.
There's a handful.
He was vulnerable to you, and you went, "I'm vulnerable too."
Yeah.
Lovely.
Yeah. And it was just, I was like, we brought on the phone, like, fuck man, we should have spoken about this years ago. But we weren't in a place then where we were either ready or knowing to do it.
The world wasn't ready, and nor was he.
Yeah. So it's a funny thing, man. Like, I just hope that schools and governments start implementing well-being into the curriculum
I think it's
because
started to. It's not happening enough.
They are, but governments. I was fucking hell. Okay, all right. But the idea that government is not the panacea, is it? You know, that government doesn't solve anything.
No.
Government just ticks over. Like this is all about. This is about me telling my kids.
yeah,
And you telling your friends' kids, and you know, like it's, and you telling your mate, it's all right.
Starts at
But it's
home,
just that
yeah.
kind of like
But
that word of mouth Indian thing.
but I guess my point is that school curriculums haven't caught up with the modern world,
No, that's
and it probably never will. But we're at a very critical point, in my opinion, with people's mental health and stability and just upbringing. It's very, very different to our parents and our grandparents, where I think these things need to start being implemented. And, you know, just the curriculum just massively needs to change because you're trained to be a mathematician, a scientist, a doctor, a business person, whatever. You're not helped to learn how to be a human being. You know?
I read a book on that, didn't I, recently, and they train you to pass exams because then the school looks better and you met the government requirement.
Yeah.
And essentially, they're not teaching you to be to coexist. Right, I need to give you a hug.
Yeah, man. Hugs all round, I think.
Oh, you big bugger.